Hello and welcome everyone to our podcast. This is Welcome to Livingston. My name is Don Putkela.
And I'm Angela Putkela, and we're with the Putkela Group Real Estate Professionals.
Yeah, so this is our podcast, Welcome to Livingston, where most of the time we talk all about Livingston County, have local businesses on, local events to talk to them about what's going on in the county. And every once in a while, we talk a little bit about real estate. Today is one of those days. So we're going to have a nice conversation about home ownership. And one of the topics I thought that we should talk about today as we get into the fall.
Yeah, the seasonality, the fall, the autumn, here we are late September, and there's a lot that happens with a house during this time of year.
No, getting your home ready for the seasons, winterizing potentially is a big topic. And, we deal a lot with first-time home buyers.
Yes.
And when you're talking to first-time home buyers or someone that's, lived in a condo, lived in an apartment, or live with their parents, they have absolutely no idea what goes into home ownership.
Why would they? There's a lot of these things that just they're not aware of, and that's okay.
Right. I mean, it's a lot more than just mowing your lawn.
Yes.
Right. And some of the funny things that I'm sure we'll talk about a few of them, but like even when I have a first-time home buyer and we're going out, one of the first things I ask them is if we're looking at a house that's on well and septic, have you ever had well water before? And if they say, well, what's that? Well, now I have to have a nice long conversation about what to be prepared for and what happens after you get the keys within that to keep that system running.
Exactly. We don't believe in surprises.
No, we don't.
Nice, maybe we overdo it sometimes, but we always give our people all the information that they need so that way they feel prepared and comfortable for what they're getting into.
Right. So what I did is I came up with a list of some of the things you should be thinking about going into the fall, into the winter with your home. Because again, we talk about spring cleaning, but a lot of times people don't talk about fall cleaning or fall prep. Right. So the first one I have on here is getting your furnace serviced. It's important to inspect your furnace. A lot of times when you buy a new furnace, you can get on a service plan where they'll come out once a year and they'll check and make sure everything's going okay. They'll check and make sure you've been changing your filters. If you have never gone down to your basement to look at the furnace filter, you need to go down there and change it right now.
Yes. Well, and you can, pull it out and it should have the writing right on it in terms of what size filter it is, right?
Yes.
And then, whether it's Home Depot or Lowe's or a store like that, you can usually purchase it pretty affordably.
Right. And I'm going to give you a piece of advice that actually our inspector is a great inspector. His name's Ken. And he does this at the inspection. When you pull out your filter, it's going to have an arrow on the filter for which way the filter goes into the furnace. Bring a Sharpie marker down with you and put an arrow right on the side of the furnace where the filter is on which way the airflow goes, because that filter, there's two ways to put it in. And if you take it out and you didn't look, you're going to not remember which way it goes and you're going to put it in the wrong way. So make sure that you're actually doing that and get your furnace serviced. If you set up on that, they'll come out every year. They'll take care of it for you. And it's going to extend the life of your system. That's an expensive repair. It's an expensive piece of machinery to put a new one in, and you want to take care of it.
Yeah, if you take care of it, it truly is an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
100%.
And not everybody does this. So this is something in terms of best practices for homeowners that, especially that may not know how important that is.
Exactly. My next best practice I wanted to talk about is your sprinkler system. Remember to get your sprinkler system blown out. You need to have a company come out there. They're going to hook up an air compressor to your system. They're going to shut it off, and then they're going to blow all the water out of there, because that water, if left in the lines in the winter, will freeze, and it will blow holes in your line. You'll have connectors that, because water expands when it turns to ice, and you do not want that to happen to your system. Again, a very expensive repair in the spring. If you bought a house that has a sprinkler system, you never had it before, and you didn't think you needed to do something in the fall.
Right. And for people closing on houses in the fall, a lot of times that becomes a question that's asked of, has the seller already blown out the sprinklers, or will the buyer as they take possession, need to take care of that. That's something that's really important to make sure that everybody knows where that's left, so that way a buyer doesn't
exactly
realize that's something they need to take care
and
of.
sometimes that's a nice question to ask the person you're buying from. Hey, who do you use? Can I get their phone number? Blowing out a system isn't expensive, but it's something that needs to get scheduled. And a lot of things, these things are, if you haven't scheduled them yet, get on the phone and schedule them now, because these people are busy this time of year and they do fill up fast.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Makes a difference.
Yep. Item number 3, for those people that own a pool.
Yes.
If you have a pool, again, you need to close that pool down in the fall. Our pool in our house is not getting closed down until mid-October because I was late calling.
Yeah, exactly. No, by the time we got around to it, they said, well, you could close it really early or close it really late. And so you said, okay, well, late it is.
Late it is.
So,
and again, that's something you can do yourself, but if you've never done it before, a few $100s to have the company do it for you. It's nice. It's done. It's done professionally done. And it's taken care of, and then you can schedule the date to have the pool opened up right when you're closing the pool down.
That way it's done correctly. And
Yep.
but certainly planning ahead on so many of these things. And that's why we'd be looking at this time to be working on some of these things.
Exactly. And I'm just going to go through all of these because I gave a big list for myself to do. And a lot of these things, I made a list for myself for the things that I need to be doing this fall. Propping your lawn is a big one. Putting that winterizer fertilizer down, making sure that you're getting those leaves taken up. I just had my lawn aerated last week and overseeded to help with its winter growth and such. But one of the big things in that is knowing when your pickup days are for all of those leaves that are going to start falling. Wherever you live, check on the township website, check on the city website for where you are, and find out when those free pickup days or free drop-off days for leaves are. I know in Genoa Township, they have one coming up in October and November. So, Marion Township's going to be the same way, in Brighton. In some areas, you can talk to your provider that picks up your trash to see what dates they'll pick up your waste. But having a plan, there's nothing worse than I've got 30 bags of leaves and I missed the day to drop it off, and now what am I going to do with this 30 bags of leaves?
Right. We have definitely seen over our years in real estate here, people that have moved in from other areas, maybe like Livonia or I think Wayne, where all the people would just take their leaves and shovel them, kind of shove them into the street, and then the city would come and collect them. But that's not done that way here. And so that's kind of a painful moment to learn that, where they've done it and all of a sudden
they rake
there.
all the leaves into the street, and they expect the big vacuum to come and suck them all up, and the big vacuum doesn't come.
Right.
And then the neighbor comes and walks over and says, hey, I saw that you put all these in the street. That was a lot of work for you to do to know that no one's coming to get them.
Yes. That's definitely, a little bit, disappointing. So it's best to kind of know how it's done in your area. Certainly you can ask your neighbors how they do it, or the people that, sold the house to you. Those are always good questions.
Right. Yep. And another one of them this time of year is get up there and clean out the gutters. Especially once you get through fall and those leaves has fallen and such, you want to make sure that those are cleaned out prior to winter starting to keep those downspouts clean so you don't get ice dams. The first year living in any house, you don't know how everything's going to go. You don't know where the snow is going to build up. You don't know if there's going to be ice dams and such. So you want to do all that prep work beforehand to try to solve those problems before they occur. And as a homeowner, every year you're learning something new about your house.
Yes.
Right?
Honest to goodness.
We moved, 2 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
That first winter, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm getting this patch of ice on my driveway. It's building up here every day.
Yeah.
I cannot do anything about it this winter, but come spring, this is getting taken care of before next winter.
Yeah, absolutely. And even in the spring, I know we talked about it, of all the surprises of, what's going to bloom next, certainly as you're in a house, it's a getting to know it kind of process. So your first fall and winter there,
right. And
Pay attention.
to go back to water softeners for a second, remember that those water softeners do need salt. If you haven't been on a water softener before, you should go down there and check it. Most systems, you're adding salt every 6 to 8 weeks, something like that. If you are propping for the winter, now might be a good time to find that spot into your garage that you're going to keep the salt, and you're going to buy it now so you don't have to be trudging in and out of the house with the salt and headed over to wherever it is you get your salt. To buy it, I buy in bulk to make it through the winter, so I don't have to deal with that during the winter. So some of those nice little tricks to think about for a house as you're prepping for the season.
Right.
Yeah,
That makes a difference. And then in terms of chimneys, a number of people do have fireplaces.
Oh, yeah.
Livingston.
Yeah, chimneys are an important thing. If you have a fireplace and you're burning wood, or you're even burning those the preset logs, right? You want to make sure that every few years you're getting your chimney flue cleaned. Right. And those companies, again, are booking out months in advance. So if you're calling a chimney sweep company, understand that they may be booking right now into mid-November, if not into December. And if you haven't used your chimney in a number of years, you want to get that cleaned and make sure that everything's working right prior to starting to use it for fires. If you bought a house this year, your inspector is going to go through, look at it, tell you if it looks good and everything. But it might always be a good idea to have a company to come out and get that cleaned. It's a couple $100. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Right, because it becomes a safety factor.
100%.
Yeah, and those are important things as a homeowner to make sure you're getting ahead of.
Right. I mean, people talk all the time about, your smoke detectors and change the batteries so they're not going off at 2 a.m. But they don't talk about, hey, you need to get your furnace serviced, or you need to get your chimney cleaned every few years, or any of those types of items that you want to make sure that you do. Right?
Right. This is true, because as a new home buyer, a lot of times your realtor and your lender are there to help you through the process. But once you get into the house, there's certain things that as a homeowner, you're kind of, I guess, supposed to know, but people don't necessarily tell you. Right.
I mean, you get into a house, you're like, this reverse osmosis system is great. And then 10 months later, you're like, why doesn't the water taste as good as when I moved in? And no one told you that there was a filter on that needed to be changed.
Right. Exactly.
So when you put, one of the best pieces of advice I can give, when you put any of these new filters on, again, grab a Sharpie and write the date on the filter that you put it in, so you know how long it's been there, and change all that stuff at the same time. Yeah. Hey, this is my weekend. I'm going to take all the screens out. I'm going to put new furnace filters in. I'm going to change the reverse osmosis filter, and I'm going to remember to go into the fridge and change that one at the back of the fridge that no one seems to remember that might have been there for 6 years.
Yeah.
So, it's those little things that make a difference, and it extends the longevity of all of those items in your house.
Right.
People with decks, get out there and you're restaining or resealing the deck. You're putting that extra layer of polyurethane on, and you're cleaning it up. You're power washing the house, all those types of things that a lot of people, they just, going through homes, we have sellers that take such good care of their houses, right?
Yeah.
And we're sitting down, we're talking with the items that they need to do to their house. And we're like, oh, no, you just need to declutter a little bit. You're really taking care of the home. And then you walk through other houses and you're like, okay, we can tell you've lived in the house the last 5 years, but have you taken care of the house the last 5 years? Right. And that's a hard conversation sometimes. So having that idea of, hey, these are the things that you need to do to maintain.
Right. Just to keep it up. And unfortunately, it's the people that aren't taking care of their homes. Those are the ones that are saddled with these very expensive repairs that need to happen because they weren't taking care of it.
Right. And one of the other things I would say that getting the garage ready, the mower versus the snowblower.
Yeah.
You're coming up on that time of year where you're going to stop using the mower. You're going to start using the snowblower. And then, you're getting the mower ready for the winter. You're siphoning the gas out of it. You're letting it run down to not let the gas sit in it.
Yeah, you do not want gasoline through the winter sitting in your garage.
You're doing an oil change on your snowblower to get that right for the next year if you have a gas one versus an electric one. But you're getting that stuff ready because, I will 100% admit that I've had years where I did not get it ready, and then there's 8 inches of snow on the ground, and I'm like, what are you doing this morning? I'm like, well, I'm getting the snowblower out or I'm shoveling the entire walk because I didn't prepare.
Well, some years in November even, or beginning of December, I'm like, wait, we're not ready for this.
Exactly.
So that's why here at the end of September, start thinking about these things. If you're able to prepare now, then that just makes your life so much easier when that happens,
Right.
I mean, I still think of our old neighbors with the Christmas lights, right? Smartest guy in terms of like the house. I mean, I think that's part of how we've learned how to treat a house, because Carl was the most amazing homeowner,
The day the Halloween decorations come off the house, the Christmas lights go on the house, even if you don't plug them in.
Right.
But it is so nice to be doing that when it's 65 degrees.
Right. He always does it when it's good weather, so it may not be the day after, but whatever that first nice day was, man, he was up there and he had them all set.
Well, same thing with taking them down.
Yeah.
So one of the things I learned is in Michigan, a lot of times you don't get a big snowfall until after Christmas, till New Year's, till that first week of January, right? So
that week between Christmas and New Year's. Yeah, a lot of times there's snow then.
But a lot of times, if you have that opportunity to get those Christmas decorations down when it's not nasty outside,
do it.
Do it.
Honest to goodness, that would be a Carlism, I would say.
Yes.
He was always very good at that, and that's how we've learned.
Yeah, and one of the other things I wanted to talk about today is end of year donations. I think we talked in a previous episode about decluttering your house and about all the places you can bring your donations. This time of year, a lot of places are inundated with donations because tax season.
Right.
You want to make your donations before the end of the year so you can claim them that year if you're itemizing.
Right.
If you're looking to do those winter cleanup and you're looking to make donations, now is a great time to think about that. When you're getting out the winter clothes from last year, if you have kids and they don't fit anymore, there are some great places to be able to donate that stuff to that really gets put to really good use. And in relation to that, I wanted to just take a quick moment to talk about mom-to-mom sales and ski swaps.
Right.
So,
right, because those are places, certainly can donate, but certainly some people want to maybe make a little bit of money on it. And so in terms of bringing them to a mom-to-mom sale or to a ski swap.
Well, the ski swap, I mean, not only people making a little money, but as parents saving a little bit of money.
Right.
Our kids ski, and them aging out of their equipment every year and growing out of their jackets and such. I mean, it is nice to have those type of things where for a few years there, I would go to ski swaps and I would get really nice spider jackets for my kids that were hundreds of dollars retail that, maybe they'd only been worn a few times or when our kids aged out of them to be able to give those to somebody else to have that opportunity.
Absolutely. Even for people who may not ski, know that ski swaps are a great resource when it comes to jackets and gloves and things like that, because those are also sold there, and usually they are warmer, heavier, better quality. That may not be someplace that you've thought of to go.
Right. And I would Google it. I don't have the dates. I know that Mount Brighton does one. I know that there is usually one at Milford High School. There's one at Walled Lake Western. That's a really big one. Alpine does one as well. So there's a few of them in the area. Same thing with mom-to-mom sales. Shepherd of the Lakes used to do one. St. Mary Magdalene does one each year, I believe. So just Google it and find out that there's great places in Livingston County where you can support each other, support the community. If you're not donating the items, being able to set up a booth to sell the items, or just to go and support other people and check out and see what's available.
Yep. In terms of changing of the season, it seems like there's so much to be done in the house and even with a family.
No, I really think so. I think fall is a great time of year where, again, you can go out and you can hit the local cider mills, and there's so much fun things to do and everything. But there's a lot of yard work to be done, and there's a lot of weeding to do, and there's a lot of prepping your house for the next year. And get that stuff done a little bit early, because there's nothing worse than you hit the holiday season, you're like, wow, I didn't get all that stuff done. Now I have to spend all this time doing this stuff. Or worse, there's no time to do it anymore, and now you didn't get it done. And you have to deal with the fact that, it's not taken care of.
This is true. Even painting, exterior paint, sometimes people just keep pushing it off. Or if there's, a repair that was done in a small part that needed to get painted, at a certain point in terms of temperature, you cannot paint anymore. So definitely get ahead of that. We're probably going to be getting closer to that in these coming weeks. So again, any exterior paint after that, you got to wait till spring.
Yep. 100%. There's a lot that goes into that. I don't know if there's anything else. I mean, there's so many things. Was there anything you wanted to add?
Trying to think, kind of add as we went. Home ownership is definitely a big deal, but it's so worthwhile because, in terms of equity, the equity you get, when you go to sell your house, all those payments you've been putting in, you're able to get that back. Whereas those that are renters, at the point where they move out, they've got nothing to show for it.
Exactly. So. Well, I love our first-time home buyers, and I've had so many unique conversations with first-time home buyers and their parents.
Yes.
So sometimes it's, the first-time home buyer doesn't know how to do any of this stuff, and they're learning it for the first time. Yeah. Or the greatest conversations are when all of a sudden they're doing all the stuff in the house and they're taking care of all these things, and the parents are like, where the heck has that been for the last 5 years? I haven't been able to get them to lift their one finger to do one item in the house, and now they wouldn't mow my lawn, but they're mowing their lawn. They wouldn't take care of this.
Oh,
so it's that pride of home ownership, and it's yours.
Yes.
And you want to take care of it. And when you get into a house, realize that all that work you're putting in on a daily, monthly, yearly basis is going to pay off in the end. Because we talk to homeowners all the time when they're going to make improvements to the house. We say, we want you to be doing it for you. We want you to be able to enjoy it for yourself. But is that going to benefit you in the end? 100% that's going to benefit you in resale.
Yes.
But take care of it. There's nothing worse than going into a house and been like, wow, this was amazing when you bought the house 5 years ago, but why doesn't it still look amazing?
Well, because we live in it.
That's true.
Even when we take care of it, we live in it. In carpet cleaning,
yep.
I've certainly known a number of people to say, once or twice a year, say in the spring and in the fall, where they'll get their carpets cleaned, or even hire a cleaner for a deep cleaning.
Yes.
That's always a good thing. We've had Rob Pearson, This Guy Cleans House. He's a great individual to know.
No, he's a great resource to be able to have that person and to do that deep cleaning to get to a better base level.
Right.
I've talked to Rob about it a number of times of like, he'll come in and he'll say, okay, I'm going to work you up to where you need to be. So then it's easier for you to maintain that.
Yes, exactly. But so often, if you've gotten behind on something, it does get overwhelming. And it's like, oh my gosh, I can't clean this much. Hire a professional. Right. It's okay. Just do that. And then to maintain isn't so bad. Life gets busy. Things happen.
Well, that's why it doesn't all have to be just about spring cleaning.
Yes.
If you're doing it all year long, or like we're talking about today, do that fall prep, that fall cleaning. So that way you're ready to go when the snow falls and you're further along when spring comes.
Yeah.
Right? Pick a room, pick a project, and dive into it and say, okay, I'm going to do a little bit every day and I'm going to get further along than I was before.
Yeah, kind of like a little worker bee weekend, right?
Worker bee weekend. I've done a number of worker, yes.
Yeah, so kind of like that. But, just take care of your house the best that you can. It really improves your quality of life, your appreciation of the home that you're in. I can't tell you how many times we've had people go to sell their house and they're getting it ready and they're cleaning it up and they're doing all the things that they maybe might have done along the way and got away from it. And they go, wow, what is this place? This is my house.
Why didn't I do this before?
Right. Yes, we get so many people. Why didn't I do this before? I could have been enjoying this all along, and ourselves included. When we sold our own house, it was like, wow.
Yeah. But I would say, look for personal recommendations in the people that you use for things. If you don't have anyone for taking care of your furnace, closing your pool, blowing out your sprinkler system, reach out to the people that you know and trust to get those recommendations. Heck, reach out to us. We have recommendations in so many different areas for different vendors that we've used over the years, that our clients have used, that we have personal recommendations for and personal experience with to connect you with to help you in these areas. But talk to your neighbors.
Right.
Yeah, find out who they're using, especially for blowing out the sprinkler system. If you live in a subdivision, there is someone in that subdivision that is going around and is blowing out 20, 30, 40 systems in a weekend, and they're giving you a deal on that. Same thing with, I didn't mention it, but if you're looking for someone to plow your driveway, get on their list now and lock that in before it's too late.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of great resources, and certainly getting ahead on any of these things really makes a huge difference.
Yep. Wonderful. Well, if you guys have any questions or anything comes up, please reach out to us. Check out all of our podcasts. We have so much fun doing this every week. If you know anyone that owns a local business that you think should be on our podcast or we should connect with, please reach out to us. You can find us on welcometolivingston.com, anywhere that you listen to your podcast. Again, we are the Putkela Group, real estate professionals. We would love to help you out in any way that we can and connect with you. So,
absolutely.
Yep.
We hope that you found today's session helpful and hope you learned something, and would love to hear from you. We love doing these, and it's fun to toss in real estate a little bit every now and again.
So thank you so much for listening, and welcome to
Livingston.